I'm testing every weapon in the finals, minus the melee, to see if there's any significant difference between using a controller and using a mouse. In most shooters, the claim is that a mouse is always better, but within recent years, controller players in games like Apex Legends have held their own in competitive play. So I want to find out if this may also be the case in the finals, and if maybe there's just a misconception that a mouse is better, simply because most high-level players prefer it. Yes, I know without aim assist controllers hardly stand a chance, but this game allows aim assist in crossplay lobbies, and so do the majority of others. This first video is going to cover the light classes weapons, and let me tell you, there are some noteworthy differences. For my test, I'm going to use each weapon with both inputs, give my take on the weapon's feel per input, meaning how easy or hard it is to control the recoil, and for weapons with no recoil, simply how accurate I am with it, and if there were any other unique differences that were worth mentioning. Then, I'll pick a winner and give it a rating of significant advantage, slight advantage, or if there's no clear winner, I'll label them as equal. After testing all weapons for the light class, we'll deem one of the two inputs the overall winner. A quick note before we start for credibility's sake. When I play the finals, I mostly use a mouse, but I've clocked more playtime on a controller overall across different competitive games than I have with M&K, and I've had plenty of success with both. My gadget usage felt a bit awkward on the controller because I wasn't used to it, but other than that, it felt completely natural. Alright, with that note out of the way, we're going to start off with the 93R, a weapon that currently most players think is awful. So is there an input that makes it better? For the feel of the gun, I found no significant difference between the two. Both felt the same for recoil control and accuracy, and I did not hit a significant number of shots more with one input over the other. The one thing worth mentioning is that when facing an evasive dash player, there were shots I would not have been able to hit with a controller that I did with a mouse, but I believe this will be true for all weapons, and I would not consider it a weapon-specific advantage, more so than a difference in inputs that would make a player approach the fight differently with a controller. With all that being said, unfortunately there's no input that makes this weapon any better, so if you think it's bad, switching inputs won't change your mind. With no clear winner, we'll call this one equal. Next weapon on the list is the Recurve Bow, the weapon that originally made me want to run this test. Since this is a single shot weapon, there's no recoil and it's all about accuracy. If you're at close range with the bow and miss a shot, you're pretty much dead, so picking an input that allows you to hit more shots is extremely important. In terms of accuracy, this came as a surprise to me, but the controller is by far the superior input. I don't know what it is about using the bow with a mouse, but it feels like no matter how spot on I think my shots are, it's a 50-50 on whether or not they actually hit. Whereas with the controller, every shot I thought should hit did, and so I'm giving the bow a significant advantage rating on controller. An important thing to note is that although I played better with a controller, obviously a top level mouse player would be able to replicate my success, but given the fact that a controller takes much less effort to be accurate with, the majority of players will have an easier time with it. Now onto the LH1. I'm absolutely awful with this gun on mouse, so I was looking forward to testing how well it would perform on a controller. To my disappointment, I am no better with this gun on a controller than I am with a mouse. But this test isn't about my personal skill. What's actually better? Accuracy wise, they're actually pretty equal. I thought since it's hard to see where you're shooting with this gun, that the aim assist would help me keep on target and hit more shots, but it didn't. Despite me not having any luck with this gun, I'm giving it a slight advantage towards mouse, because while you may hit the same number of shots, it's easier to land headshots with the mouse, increasing the gun's overall performance. Next, we have the XP54, which seems to be the default pick for most light players. For this one, I had an easier time controlling the recoil, specifically for longer ranged engagements with the mouse. Up close, there was no discernible difference. I've witnessed other players absolutely laser with the XP54 on a mouse, and I've yet to notice that when facing a controller player. And although I can't do this personally, with the knowledge that it's possible and how often I see it, I have to give this one a significant advantage rating on the mouse. 4 weapons in, and we're sitting at 1 significant advantage with controller, 1 with the mouse, 1 slight advantage with mouse, and 1 equal rating. We can already start to see that it isn't as clear cut as one may think. Let's keep going. Next, we have the SH1900, aka the sawed-off or the double barrel. Despite how it might look, this weapon's recoil is all visual. By the time you can fire your next shot, it resets perfectly to where you were aiming before you shot. Also important to know is that this weapon does not deal extra damage to the head, which is a trait that all shotguns in the game currently share. I'm pointing this out because that makes the best place to aim to maximize damage center mass, and the superior input for hitting center mass consistently is the controller due to aim assist. During my test, although I was hitting roughly the same number of shots with a mouse, with the controller I was consistently dealing higher damage because my shots were more centered. Therefore, I have to give this a significant advantage rating with a controller. Moving on to the sniper, aka the SR84, another single shot weapon that is all about accuracy. Between the two inputs, I find it easier to hit shots with a controller by a slight margin. However, if we remember my remarks about the LH1 and SH1900, you might already see where this is headed. While I hit slightly more shots with a controller, the extra shots I was hitting were mostly body shots. Situationally, hitting body shots with a sniper is not a huge problem. Sometimes just taking out a chunk of health is enough to finish someone off or help a teammate finish them. But we all know a headshot with a sniper is vastly superior. It's the difference between one-shotting a light or not, or reducing the number of total shots to take out a medium or heavy. A unique feature of the controller is that shooting someone through trees or bushes is way easier due to the aim assist helping you find them through the clutter. With this unique feature on controller, I'll have to give the mouse only a slight advantage rating because of how often something can obstruct your vision in this game, whether it's debris from a crumbling building, fire, gas, smoke, leaves, or whatever else you can think of. We'll do the V9S next. The suppressed pistol is one of my favorite guns on light, and if there's a better input, of course I'd be curious. This gun's recoil is almost non-existent no matter what input you're using, so hitting shots is not an issue. But a unique problem I faced is that I was dying a lot more when using this gun with a controller. After a bit more testing, I came to the conclusion that it takes a lot more effort to fire a semi-auto gun rapidly with a controller, and the extra effort made my movement worse, leading to more deaths. On top of that, it's also way easier to shoot at the fire rate cap consistently on a mouse. So you die less and shoot more with the mouse, leading me to a rating of significant advantage with it. Just like my note about the bow, it's enough practice I'm sure a controller can keep up, but it took way less effort to play well on a mouse. Onto the M11. The M11 is a gun I don't use regularly. In fact, I don't think I've even tried it once before making this video. I was expecting the results to be the same as our other fully auto choice, the XP54, but after trying it out for the first time on both inputs, I was surprised. This gun feels terrible to use with a mouse compared to the XP54, and now I see why I don't often run into players using it. It's not much better on a controller either, but it is better. I found that in close range engagements, it was slightly smoother and easier to hit shots, and with the extra bullets in the mag, hipfire was also slightly better in a controller, similar to with my reasoning for the sawed-off, hitting center mass. Long range I couldn't hit a thing, but if I were to hit something, it would be with the mouse. Collectively after testing, I'll give this one a slight advantage rating on controller, because it wasn't a drastic difference in accuracy between the two. Our last weapon we're covering is the throwing knives, a weapon that seems to infuriate a lot of players. This has been my go-to weapon on light since season 1, and so I've spent a lot of time with them on the mouse, which may have skewed my results. Accuracy wise, I hit a decent number of shots, if you want to call them that, more with the mouse. But that's not even where the biggest difference came from. With how I use the throwing knives, which is with evasive dash, you end up having to make a lot of flick shots, and that's just way harder to do with a controller. I found myself trying to play the same way on controller as I do with mouse, and it would frustrate me at how fewer shots I was hitting with my flicks. I believe if I were to play without dash, there would be closer results, but it didn't make sense for me to change my playstyle to a worse one just for closer results on a test. Throwing knives is getting a significant advantage rating on mouse. Now that we've gone through all the weapons, the final results are 1 equal rating, 2 significant controller advantages, 1 slight advantage, 3 significant advantages on the mouse, and 2 slight advantages, making the superior input for the light class the mouse, but it might be worth checking out the significant advantage rated weapons on controller if you happen to play both well. I hope this helps end the debate on which input is better, because now we can see that it's not so black and white. Let me know if you think it would be worth testing the other 2 classes, and thanks for watching.